So for whatever reason, this video is just, it's doing the same thing it did during our last webinar. It worked when we tested and then doesn't work during the webinar. That's a blessing for you. You don't have to look at me, those of you who've had me. So it's just the old guy, so you're not having to watch me. So that'll be a blessing for you. So today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence highlights. And so let me welcome you today to this. Many of you maybe have had an opportunity to attend emotional intelligence seminars someplace. And if you have, that is great. Let me get this over here where we need it to be. And if you have, that is awesome. It gives you an opportunity to be able to learn some new skills. And today, what we're going to be doing the next hour, this is going to be worth 1 PDU for those of you who are PMPs. It is also going to just kind of give you an overview of a new seminar that we have just completed writing this year. This is a 3-day seminar, and we just finished testing it. And so some of the guys, I think, are on the seminar even for the webinar today from out in the DC area or from FAA. They let us test it out in Washington earlier this year, and we had such a good time doing it. And so if you're on here, thank you guys out at FAA out in DC. Dieter's group out in FAA helped us work on this, and we had a good time testing it and just had a good time with these guys. We told them what we're doing and they let us test it with them. And so we had such a good time working on this and then trying it with those guys. We had a good time. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence highlights. And so if you've done any study in emotional intelligence, it's been around for a number of years. But one of the things that's interesting about this is that it's being utilized in all aspects of project management, leadership, and all aspects of just being able to interact with people from all different lines of life. And so what happens with emotional intelligence is it's geared to allow us to be able to deal with people and to be able to interact with them, to motivate them, to increase their performance, to calm people down, to communicate with people, and to be able to connect with people on a different level than maybe we've ever connected with them before. And so what happens with that is that it's supposed to be able to just take us to a whole different level than what we've ever done before in communication. Now, to give you just a little bit of background on emotional intelligence, it's the ability to monitor one's own feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, to use this information to guide one's thinking and action. And this is defined by research psychologists Peter Salvoy and John Mayer in 1990. Now, if you've done any research in the background on emotional intelligence, you know that these guys are some of the original researchers on this, and I'll talk about some of the original researchers. There's really 3 main researchers in the area of emotional intelligence. Now, what has happened with these folks is that these 3 main researchers started researching this many years ago, and when they started coming out with this, people started looking at this, and some looked at this as kind of fluffy psychological things. But what they started finding is that this research really started benefiting people in being able to calm people down and to be able to communicate with people on a different level. But it allowed people to really be able to understand that it was not some of the psychological babble that people thought it was. It really was something to be able to communicate, calm people down, and also the ability to connect on a whole different level. But Salvoy and Mayer in 1990 made a connection that was very, very realistic, that was very beneficial in the areas of leadership and also in the areas of the workplace. And so that changed how people start viewing this. With this made people start looking at it not as just another type of psychological kind of, feely kind of emotional kind of thing. Then came along in 95, Goldman, who had one of the best-selling books of all time. And Daniel Goldman in 95 came out with a book on emotional intelligence, why it can matter more than IQ. And of course, the big push all through the years has been, the IQ of a person. What was the intelligence of a person? And of course, that IQ driving people. So many organizations were trying to hire the best people based on their intelligence. What kind of intelligence did people have? And Goldman, in his book, really drove home that it was not based on the intelligence of an individual. It was, you wanted people who were as intelligent as possible, but you wanted people who had emotional intelligence, the ability to connect with people, the ability to listen, to emotionally connect with people. So it wasn't being an emotional basket case, but it was somebody who cared about other individuals and could connect with that caringness. And Goldman's books have just been really something that people have connected with, because he has got it across that emotional side of an individual has been an enormous amount of information to be able to connect on a whole different level with that person. And managers and project managers who have done this have been able to connect with their people and be looked at as a person that's totally different than someone else who has supervised and worked with people in projects than anyone else. And then with emotional intelligence, it was knowing and managing our own emotions and those of others for improved performance. Now, the idea behind emotional intelligence, besides the idea and the abilities of calming people down and knowing our emotions and being able to control ourselves and how we come across, it is also that idea of being able to improve performance of other people, but also of being able to motivate, to share vision, to control self, to be able to know exactly what we're wanting to have done, and to be able to portray that to other people. The group at FAA that we tested this with is probably the group that I've seen as an outsider that portrays this some of the best. Their manager, I think, portrays it as one of the best, and I told him that. And of course, I told the group that when we tested it there. And so I could think of no other group that I really wanted to test this on than a group that I thought was already using a lot of this and most of this in real life. And so I really did appreciate them letting me do this. And I thought I was using it with a group that was already using this and mature in most of this anyway. So that's why we tested it in Washington, D.C. with this group at FAA. But this is something that is so powerful when it's used correctly. Now, can it be used in the wrong way? Of course it can. It can be used to manipulate. It can be used to leverage in the wrong way. But of course, anything else can in those ways as well. Now, as we continue to look at emotional intelligence as a way of motivating, let's talk about some of these different models. The three main models, emotional intelligence, maybe you've studied it in your business program or in school someplace. The three main ones, as we talked about, one was Mayer, Savoy, and Caruso. This was one of the models. And then the other one was Baron. Baron was one of the early models. And then, of course, Goldman. So these are the three main models. So if you go back and you do any research on emotional intelligence, it comes back to these three different models. Now, these models are very similar in a couple of ways. All three of these models try to measure skills. But what happens with all three of these models is all three of these models try to measure different type of emotions and different type of skills to try to come up with how they can influence other things. And if we use these particular skills, how they will influence other areas in a positive nature. Now, Baron, his particular model is the one of the three that's different. Baron looks at it a little bit different. He measures his model, and his model goes at it from a different aspect, to where he attempts to do an inventory from a different direction, to where he tries to look at it from the aspect of whether or not his inventory could be quantified differently, to where it can or cannot influence other people. But when he's looking at it from really trying desperately to quantify what's happening or what's not happening with whether it's going to influence people in a positive or negative influence. And so Baron, his model is a little bit different than the other two. The other two pretty much follow the same pattern of, if we can understand the emotions of people, then we can use it to influence. Baron goes at it a little different, with a little different aspect. And So some of the writing that you'll see, most of them will follow Mayer or they'll follow Goldman's model, because they will follow some of the same kind of patterns that we're looking at right here when we see this. Sorry, I just got off a little bit here. Let's see what this next one is. Sorry about that. I think I skipped a slide here. Let me back up just a second here. There we go. All right, here we go. I bumped the slides. All right, so let's talk about the benefits of emotional intelligence for the project manager. Now, the benefits of emotional intelligence can be beyond the project manager. It can actually go far beyond into leadership. It can go into sales, because emotional intelligence can help folks that for a lot of different type of things. But one of the pieces that can be so beneficial is that it can actually help in the area of developing stakeholder relationships that support the project's success, relationships with project stakeholders, team members. It can help with relationships, help with gathering information, support during difficult times, making good decisions. It can help from the aspect of being able to help people with know-how and where to gather better data. The benefits also can go into anticipating and avoid emotional breakdowns. Stress is common when we start looking at the ability to be able to gather stress, going through stress, and stress, because stress is so common, the ability to know the causes of emotional breakdowns and recognizing the risk of those breakdowns and using techniques for avoiding those breakdowns. And so we're not trying to talk about or teach people how to become psychologists, or you're trying to turn people into being able to be a counselor or anything like that, but you are trying to be able to handle get people to be able to handle some stressful situations into the workplace, so that that workplace has the ability to be able to calm a situation down. We have so much trauma that happens in the workplace today. The average project manager in a team and the average manager in a team must be able to calm that situation down in some cases, to keep it from escalating in a bad situation. And so we have to be able to calm that situation down to keep it from escalating. And what we're learning today is that all of us are finding ourselves having to be able to calm a situation down to keep something from escalating. So any kind of technique to keep things from emotionally getting out of control is starting to be techniques that we all are starting to desire to learn, just to keep things from going higher or getting bigger than what we want them to be. Also, dealing with difficult team members. I know you guys don't have difficult team members or having to manage conflict, but emotional intelligence can provide the tools to work with difficult people and help identify ways in which we contribute to the problem. We recognize, we anticipate problems with people, where people get irritated and have difficulty and have problems with individuals. And so recognizing and anticipating conflict, dealing with it before it becomes a problem. A lot of times conflict is the boil over factor that happens sometimes with individuals. And so we have to be very, very careful to try to solve some of these things before individuals, before some of this stuff gets to be too explosive and people all of a sudden just lose it, because something has just boiled over and has become so powerful and so rolled over in some of these situations. And so we're trying to calm some of these situations down before some of this happens. And then also, we're talking about leverage emotional information to make better decisions. Emotions provide us with a steady stream of information about ourselves, but also our team members, our environment. For an example, do you know how to calm yourself down? Do you know what the triggers are that allows you to realize that you're getting problems, that you're having situations in which you are that you are starting to get angry, that your anger is starting to build. Now, I noticed that some of you are starting to have some issues on some choppiness with the voice. And so I'm looking here with some of the things here. I'm double checking of the some of the settings on this side. All the settings on this side are coming through. How's the voice coming through for everybody? Some of you are most of you being able to hear us okay? Some's choppy. Some of you are coming through choppy. Some's coming through choppy. Okay. Some's choppy. Okay. All clear, all clear. It's better. Okay. All right. It's the same on the phone. Okay. What I'll do too is at the end of this, I'll put a link out to the same email. Better. Okay. I'll put a link out, and because I'm videotaping this too. I'm on a headset. Yes, I am. And so I'll put a link out so that it will be so that you'll have a link to the video of it as well. And so I wouldn't think that would be choppy since it's being videoed as well. And so that you can have reference to that as well. So when we talk about the leverage emotional information to make it the better decisions, emotions provide us with a steady stream of information about ourselves, our team members, our environment, and that ability to be able to talk with each other back and forth, that ability to be able to understand each other makes a huge difference in the ability to be able to motivate them, to be able to understand how and what it's going to take to be able to work with that individual and what's going on in their life as well. The other piece, no, I'm not on a wireless headset. I'm plugged in with everything. I'm all plugged in. I'm not using anything wireless. I didn't trust anything wireless. I didn't trust anything wireless for this. I wasn't taking any chances with it. So it has to be happening someplace else. So I'm hooked in with wires everywhere. The next benefit of emotional intelligence is communicate more effectively. And so emotional intelligence helps us to understand ourselves as well as our team and our stakeholders. By knowing our audience, we can send a message that we will be received well. And so communication, because we are communicating from an emotional standpoint, and so that means we're listening to the person, we're caring for the person, and so that means that we're also connecting to that person from an emotional level, that we're connecting with that person. That means that that person understands that we do care from them. That means that they understand that we are concerned about every aspect of that person's life. And with that, we are looking at them from the aspect of what's happening, not only personally, but also professionally, of what's going on in their life. And so we know stuff about that person. We know about their life. We know about their family. We know about their children. Now, obviously, we're not meddling in those areas of their life, but we do know about that person and what's going on in their life. The next benefit is creating a positive work environment and high team morale. As we work with a positive work environment and a high team morale, the project manager is responsible for that emotional tone of the project. And because that project manager is responsible for that emotional tone for the project, they manage the project environment, that atmosphere. And so that atmosphere is huge in being able to allow that project manager to to be able to set the right tone where people feel like they can interact. They feel like they have the ability to be able to share back and forth, and people have the ability to be able to disagree agreeably with each other. This type of atmosphere is going to be huge for people to be able to interact with one another and to be able to share ideas and solutions that might be different than the norm or different than what the organization has been sharing. And so that's a huge piece of information for them to be able to do this. And organizations allow people to be able to share information back and forth that might be different, will find themselves in better shape because that allows that freedom for people to be able to feel comfortable in sharing information that doesn't go with the stream, and that information is going to be very beneficial for them later on. Also, another benefit is it's going to help them be able to cast that vision, casting a vision for shared project objectives that will attract, inspire, and motivate the project team. Shared project objectives are important for getting buy-in, commitment from a project team. Uh, the project manager must understand the emotions, the objectives of those in the project and on the team. That shared vision is going to be huge. And so that being able to share that vision is going to be very important for that particular component. And then the other benefit for this is going to be, it is vital to the project manager for three reasons. Each project is unique and the projects are going to be temporary, and the project manager has that power and authority over that project. And so that's going to allow that project team quickly to that project manager to assess and understand and manage the team quickly, which is going to be very beneficial for them. Now, I want to show you one piece of this that I think is going to be very important for you here that will help you here. Now, what is the process for managing those emotions? One process for managing those emotions is going to be in identifying those emotions, identifying those feelings. Now, as you get ready to identify those feelings, that's part of this whole process here. And that's why I said sometimes it had that feeling of that it's that that ooey gooey feeling kind of thing. But what you're trying to do is, do I understand what I'm feeling right now? Do I understand what I'm thinking right now? That's going to be a piece of it. And then the other part of that is determining the underlying cause. Next, establishing a new way of thinking and behaving, and then taking action to get clear, and then doing it over. Now, part of emotional intelligence in understanding the process of managing the emotions is going to be this cycle that you're looking at right here, this process of managing the emotions. For those individuals who do not understand their emotions, what their emotions bring out of them, especially in a negative way, it's important for them to be able to understand this, because many times the emotions have been bringing negative events out of them. Those who allow their anger to drive negativity into the workplace. For an example, the person who gets angry and has outbursts on the job, emotional intelligence can be something that would be very beneficial in being able to draw this out, and would allow them to be able to understand this and find those triggers and be able to curtail this from happening before they find themselves screaming or cussing at people or acting out on the job. And yet many times they don't notice it. They don't notice it, and they're not able to stop it by the time it gets to that. And so many times when we see emotional intelligence at work in real life, once we learn these things are happening, we can feel those triggers happening, and we can start taking steps of action to stop them from happening before it actually gets to that particular point. But when we deal with emotional intelligence correctly, we notice those things happening before it gets to the point of no return. The problem is that by the time it gets to the point of no return, it's hard for us to be able to handle those things. Now, maybe you're a person person that it never gets to the point of a return. Even if it doesn't get on that part with anger or frustration, the thing is that emotional intelligence works on the side of being able to understand people better and to be able to pick up on the side of what's happening in that person's life. Now, let me show you something else here. This is what I was going to show you. Emotional intelligence will work on 5 main areas. And these are the 5 emotional intelligence, five main areas that emotional intelligence focuses on, okay? It focuses on self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, and team leadership. And so that's what emotional intelligence really focuses on. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, and team leadership. So what do we mean by each of these? This is what we're talking about. So let me define each of these for you. This is where it kind of jumped ahead a moment ago. All right, so when we talk about self-awareness, it's really understanding ourselves, our emotions. So emotional self-awareness is understanding what's going on at a gut level inside of us. It's accurate self-awareness means understanding our strength, our weakness, self-confidence, being grounded, being secure. So self-awareness, what's going on inside of us? And so, in other words, we're not playing games with ourselves. We know what's happening on the inside. We know what's going on inside of us, and we're not playing games with ourselves. We know what's going on. Secondly, you're looking at self-management. With self-management, what you're looking at is it's managing and guiding our emotional state. So you're looking at competencies. This is going to be self-control or controlling our emotions. So first you have to be aware of it. And then what you're looking at is you're looking at, am I able to then to control myself, controlling those emotions? And so then as you're looking at controlling yourself, you're looking at the ability to be able now, how can I calm myself down, or how can I take myself in the direction to where it's not going to upset it or take it in the wrong direction. Then the next piece of the domain that you're looking at is going to be social awareness, occurring when we expand our awareness to include the emotions around us. So then you're looking at empathy, understanding and relating to feelings of others, organizational awareness, interpreting the context for emotions in an organization, seeing others clearly, accurately assessing and understanding others, emotional boundaries, understanding where we end and others begin. And so what you're looking at here, when we expand our awareness to include the emotions of others, that social awareness. And so that empathy, that organizational awareness, that ability to assess ourselves, to assess and understand others, all of that connects with that social awareness. And so that's going to be that piece there. The third piece, or the fourth piece, I'm sorry, is then going to be that relationship management. Now, relationship management is using the awareness of our own emotions and those of our own, using our own emotions and those of others to build that strong relationship. The competency that you're looking at here is the stakeholder relationship, identifying, analyzing, and managing relationships of those on the project, developing others, making an investment into the growth and development of those we work with through feedback and coaching, truth telling, being direct, being honest, but not being cruel. You're not trying to hurt somebody's feelings. You're not trying to be rude. You're trying to be able to be truthful, but at the same time, you're trying to be compassionate. You're trying to be somebody who is also warm. You're trying to be somebody who's also empathetic, but relationship management. And then that fifth piece that you're looking at there is going to be that part where it's team leadership, and it's focusing on the emotional skills needed to effectively lead project teams. So you've got competencies, communication, understanding and managing the emotional tone of the team, conflict management, focusing on ways to resolve conflict. You've got inspirational leadership, casting a vision that will engage, motivate, inspire the team. So with team leadership, you can see how this is that motivational component where it is communication, understanding, managing conflict, and inspirational leadership. And so this is where you're going to be then inspiring the team to be able to move forward with you in the future, more so than what you are right now, with where you are at the present time in the future. All right, let me take you to the next piece here. You've already been here, so let's take you here. Okay, so here's the steps that we need to stakeholder relationships. We've talked about the stakeholder relationship. So we have to identify the the project stakeholders. We have to then collect, analyze information about those stakeholders, and then we develop the relationship strategies, and we manage the ongoing relationships with them. And so part of building the relationship with those stakeholders is the ability to be able to understand that information and about the stakeholders, the people that we're wanting the relationship with, and to be able to build a relationship with them that based on that information and use that information in a positive and wholesome way. And so that's part of building that relationship. By doing that as a project manager with the team, you're using that to be able to motivate them and to be able to build a positive relationship one-on-one with them. Part of that is going to be used in a direct approach and also an indirect approach. Now, a direct approach, we would be scheduling meetings or preparing project updates with them. Indirect approach would be arranging an informal check-in or impromptu meetings, be where they are so that you can just kind of bump into them or come across their path. But a direct approach, you are actually making a concerted effort to be able to be there and to be able to come across those situations. So that would be a piece of what you would be doing. So building and maintaining good relationship with others, yes. Spouse, significant other, family in general, it could be, yeah. You could be doing these could be things that you're doing with anyone. Yeah, it could be spouse, significant other people. Yeah, you could be doing these type of things with other people as well. That's absolutely true. So it doesn't, even though we're talking about it in a project sense, it could be other people too, as a project team. That's correct. That's absolutely true. Also, developing relationship strategies. Be willing to build relationships with people between you and the stakeholder, such as the staff members, the administrator. Be willing to build relationships with those who are negative or neutral about the project so that you can earn respect, trust. And of course, that makes a huge difference because, once again, you've got other people that can actually be people who have influence. And a lot of times we don't think about people of influence. And so a lot of times these aren't people necessarily who are people of power, but they can be people of influence. And so when you start talking to them and they're part of the team, they might not have the position power, but they are people of influence when they start interacting in these situations. And so they can definitely be people of influence who are listening and interacting in these situations. And they can interact and they can be people who are influenced. This is why management by walking around is so important. That's absolutely true because you're overseeing it, you're interacting, you're engaging with people. That's true. And then providing feedback. Positive feedback is easy to give and does not involve much risk. Constructive feedback can take courage and may involve risk. Constructive feedback a lot of times will challenge the status quo of people, and that's one of the reasons why constructive feedback is sometimes takes courage, is to challenge that status quo with people, and you must do that. Now, constructive feedback means that we have to stick, gives us some guidelines here, and so one of the things to consider is stick to the facts, focus on the positive as much as possible, but be clear. Also, make it accurate, keep it objective, and invest and don't punish. Try not to punish the person. And sometimes we'll, especially if this is somebody who has really messed up several times, we will sometimes make it personal. Don't make it personal, but do invest in trying to give them direction. But don't punish, but do invest in giving them some clear-cut direction on what you want them to do. And then also telling the truth. This we had great time in class when we were testing this on talking about what is the truth, and so it's amazing what people identify as what is the truth and what is not the truth. And we had a huge discussion on what is a white lie. Is a white lie a truth or not? And we can have that discussion at other times. But the third relationship management competency was telling the truth. And it's not always easy, to be honest. And this can be difficult, and it may make us vulnerable. And it might even cause conflict to tell the truth, but telling the truth is very, very important in situations. And sometimes it's important for us to, sometimes suck it up, and we have to tell the truth and be honest with the customer, and sometimes be honest with our boss, and sometimes be honest with our coworkers and say, this is the approach we're taking is not the right approach. And we need to do it with the right, the right mindset and the right spirit and the right temperament and the right approach and all of those type of things. But we need to be willing to say, we tell the truth that we don't think this is the right approach. Oh, the white lie. Yes, the white lie is always punches the buttons, doesn't it? Because we all have the white lie kind of mindsets of what it is. Lillian Carter with the white lie. We all have the white lie ideas. And so we have to be very careful. I'm not familiar with the Lillian Carter white lie. What was the example for the Lillian Carter white lie? All right, that sounds good. So the white lie. So telling the truth. So when you must choose whether to tell the truth or let it go, ask yourself these questions: what is my objective in this situation, and what do I want to happen? And so when you're looking at telling the truth, so what's my objective in this situation? So if I'm not going to tell the truth, what's the objective here? And so a lot of times when you're looking at this stuff, and not when we get into these situations, so what is your objective of not telling the truth here? Is it a situation to where you're just trying not to hurt somebody's feelings and it doesn't really matter? Or is it a situation to where we're trying to carry out, distort the reporting of a project, or the reporting of the outcomes of project? If that's the case, then we need to be telling the truth. Or what do we want to happen here? Once again, we should not be lying to our customer. We should not be lying to our project manager or to our supervisors or anything like that. Those type of things should not be happening, because those events themselves we should not be distorting something like that to those type of personnel, because it's going to be very, very disruptive in those particular situations. They need to know the truth, and that's part of our job in sharing those events with them. So we need to make sure we tell those. Sometimes we work with problem people, and so if you're somebody who works with problem people, hopefully you're not the problem person. But sometimes that involves micromanagers and critics that you might be working with. They want to control or criticize everything we do. They have difficulty with trust and control and delegation, or they're perfectionists and they sit around, they fault find everything. They're dishonest. Sometimes you'll have dishonest employees. They might lie, cheat, or steal, or they act unethically, or they ask you to join them and be part of this. I mean, there are people who get involved in a lot of these. I tell the story. We've been in business 26 years as of today, but we've been in business about 2 years, and one of the contracts that we were offered early on, the guy called me in and set me down and said, okay, here's the contract. And he said, now every time you get paid, 10% goes to this checking account. And I start laughing because I thought he was joking, but he gave me a card with an account on it. And he said, the check will be made out to my wife. And that's when I realized he was not joking. And I said, well, I know who not to do business with. And I got up and left. And that was early on when we started the company, when my wife and I started the company. But it was so shocking that he just was so blatant about that. And so you'll find people who are very dishonest in some of the things that they will do. Nothing will surprise us today. Communication. Oh, so here's our white lie that we were talking about. So let's go ahead and get that in here. So the reporter asked what it means, and Lillian answered, saying something like, for an example, when you arrived, I greeted you by saying that I was glad to see you. Yeah, I bet that was a white lie. So communication with the emotional intelligence. Understand your own emotions. Our own emotional state will show through in our communication. We may misread how we feel in our communications, and that's absolutely true. Our emotional state can come through for sure in so many different ways, just by how it comes through and in how we communicate, and even in our tone. Have you noticed that if I'm having a bad day, it can come across in the tone, and so for sure it will come across just talking to somebody else. Also, check for understanding and reactions. Did they understand and retain your communication? Did they receive the message as you intended it? Follow up with trusted and honest team members to ask what they heard, what they took away, any reaction they might have had to the message. Any of those pieces could have been there. Also, conflict management, which is so prevalent today, especially from every angle. It seems like everybody's upset about something. Conflict constraints of time, cost, and scope. Satisfactory needs for stakeholders, contention of resources, rewards, and recognition, roles, responsibilities, team members, diversity, individual personalities, technical decisions, reporting structure. My gracious, we've got conflict from every side. And then so many of you guys are working with organizations who don't have enough people, and yet the projects are still coming down the pipelines like crazy, and you're being bombarded with the same amount of projects and not enough people. And of course, everything's the number one priority, and on and on and on. And so you're just being bombarded like crazy with this. And so, of course, there's conflicts from all sides. And so if conflict's not addressed, it can hinder communication, discourage creativity, limit productivity. And then if you've got somebody who is just coasting and not really working, it's so frustrating from all sides. Then one of the cool things, though, too, is that you can also have somebody who is providing inspirational leadership and the ability to inspire others by casting a vision for the individual and the team. And that's one of the cool things that emotional intelligence can do. And so it makes work attractive and interesting to the team. It creates high team morale. It attracts and retains good resources. And when you see this working right, that's what this does. It inspires people towards leadership, and it does cast that vision. And that's one of the great things that you will see, is that vision is cast and people do respond to it. Vision casting for projects is a responsibility for the project manager. They'll state the future. They'll be positive picture of the goals, the objectives. They'll assist the team to understand why they're important. They'll help the team connect with the goals, the objectives. It makes a huge difference in what they understand and where they're going with the project. And I mean, it's just huge for what they're going to do in the future, because they see the vision, they see the dream. Sample team vision statements. They'll do our best to achieve the goals and objectives of the team. They'll increase team capabilities. All of those are going to be pieces of something that they will continue to grow and expand in being able to grow and to gain their core competencies and do more in those areas than they've done before. The other area that continues to expand is this area of creating a positive team environment. Using emotional intelligence concepts to create an environment that is positive, productive for the project team. There's a direct correlation between the team environment and productivity, satisfaction levels of the team members. The project manager sets the tone for this. And of course, you see this all the way through, but this positive team correlation is huge. Creating that team environment, some characteristics of this would be interdependence among team members, diversity among the team members, and also mutual respect, sharing of common goals, high performance, synergy among the team members. The important factor in establishing a positive environment is the level of emotional resonance or dissonance created by the project leader, resonance leaders, and dissonant leaders. The project manager is responsible for the tone and direction of the project. The project manager creates a safe environment and for behavior and performance. And sometimes when you're looking at some of the teams, project managers don't take control of the team, and the people don't feel safe to be able to disagree or to share those other ideas. And so people are fearful to come up. A safe environment allows people to be able to flourish and to give their other ideas. And it allows them to be able to share the opposing idea, or to be the devil's advocate in a nice way. Not be the devil, but be the devil's advocate. It also allows them to be able to establish those team values. They are the agreement on how the team will act. They can be created by the project manager alone or by the team, and the project manager should model this. These are not values that are just to be written, but they are values that should be something that should be designed, but also something that should be followed by the project manager and also by the team. Occasionally, you'll run across project managers who want to violate this and do not want to follow it themselves. And so you'll find that the team realizes that, well, this is like the team is supposed to follow it, but the project manager doesn't have to follow it. And that's the opposite of what should be happening here. And these values, once the values are put into place, make sure the team lives up to them, and acknowledge the team members who demonstrate the values and reinforce these by calling out behavior that's not in line with the values. And so if someone is not acting right, that needs to be pointed out. And team members need to be talked to who are not following this. And that would involve the project manager being willing to talk with some of these folks who are not following through with these team values. Now, let me close with this piece right here. Let me close with this piece right here, and then I'll give you the codes for this, so you'll get your 1 hour PDU for this. This is set up as a webinar, so the only way for you to talk is going to be through the text, I think, is the way this is set up, because it's got 100 people on here. Set up for 100 people with those who have signed in. And so it's set up for that. So what questions do you have before I close this out at the end of our hour? So do you have questions that you can text in right now? And I'll answer any question that you might have. And then I'll close this out right there at the hour. I will. What I will do is I will send you the video. You'll actually get the video. You won't get the files. You'll get a video is what you'll get. You will get the files. I'm sorry, not the files. You'll get a video. Hopefully with better audio. I hope so too. Any other questions? Now don't go anywhere, because I'm going to give you the code so that you can get your PDU if you need it. Okay, so hang on just a second here. So any other questions? Working with disturbed teams, one of the things that in the early stages, one of the things I'll do with a team, if it's one member in particular, is I'll try to talk with them one on one. I try not to embarrass them in front of anybody. I'll go talk with them one on one and talk to that team member and try to find out, what's going on with them. I try not to embarrass them. Over the years, for me personally, I've just I try to do the softer approach if at all possible with that person, and it seems to have worked better overall. There's no one way for every situation, but I try to go talk with them one on one. I might have lunch with them or supper with them or whatever, but I'll talk with them one on one about it. Usually our team values. I'll talk to them about the team value they're violating and stuff like this, and usually that will pretty much calm some of that down. But if I've got somebody who's continuing to disrupt everything, the bottom line is if they're more trouble than they're worth, then sometimes that's not the right person to be on the team, because they're disrupting too many things. Sometimes though, you don't have that option. That's the only person you've got, or that they're the only subject matter expert, so they have to be there. So you can't move them off the team. But I'll talk with them, and you just want to get real specific. This is the behavior that you demonstrate, or this is the performance you demonstrate. I do talk about behavior and performance. I don't talk about their attitude. I talk about their behavior and their performance, though, just to kind of give you a heads up. I don't talk about their attitude, because attitude is such a personal thing. So I talk about the behavior that they're demonstrating or the performance they're demonstrating, not about their attitude. So anyway, let me show you these. Any other questions? All right, let me show you just the last two slides here, and I'll give you your code. This is a 3-day version online, not online, a 3-day version on site that if you decide to do something with this, and of course we send a trainer in, all the books if you want. We normally will do 20 to 25 people. If you want something like this done, this is a brand new seminar. It is it is certified with PMI. So you can contact Wanda. You've got all that information, I'm sure. We did test it. It is going through a rewrite. And Dieter, if you're on there, or any of your people, thank you again for letting us practice with you guys. We had a blast. And then for you guys who are PMPs and need a code, or if you're Agile and need a code, here's your code up here at the top. This is Emotional Intelligence Highlights. And so your course, put in Emotional Intelligence Highlights. I'm sorry, it should be PMI. Not EMI, should be PMI. So that's your Emotional Intelligence Highlights, and that should be EIH. EIH is your course number, and so it's Emotional Intelligence Highlights, EIH. So the EMI, that's for PMI, Emotional Intelligence Highlights, EIH is your course number, and the Mathis Group number for our registered education number is 2022. No certificates will be sent out, and so there's all of our information there. Okay, so that way you'll have all of that information there. All right. So any other questions? Now, let me tell you what my game plan is. My game plan is periodically to try to have some of these out to provide some additional options for you to pick up some PDUs. And so I don't know how often we'll do this. I don't like that it's choppy, that people are having it choppy. I don't know if it's on our side or not, but I want to watch the video and see if it is, and see what we can do about it. All of our stuff is wired in so that so that we can minimize it on our side. So I don't know, but I wanted to see. But anyway, we're going to try to do that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as possible. We'll try to make it as good as possible, and we'll send that link out to everybody as quick as we can and get it out to you guys. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Bye now. God bless you guys. Take care.